Alright guys, you don't have to scream at me anymore. Uboat is finally back. And I've returned a lot more knowledgeable about the game. For example, I know now that y'all were gaslighting me about not heating the torpedoes. I was maintaining them fine the whole time. The devs changed how torpedo maintenance works. Basically, if a torpedo has a check on it, it's good. Anyway, I'm stepping up my game to become a legendary captain. I'm starting in June 1941, where we got the Battle of the Atlantic in full swing, and the British are starting to take this whole U-boat problem seriously. I'm still going to be playing on intermediate settings for this campaign, and of course, when it comes to a captain, I gotta make sure he's literally me. So, I'm starting in Kiel with High Command giving us a good choice of missions to start with, and I land on doing the Enigma recovery mission. There's a sunken submarine, and I just gotta swipe the Enigma machine out of there before the Brits get it. Fortunately, I got the best men on the job for this absolutely war-critical mission, and I set off to the British Isles. I have a close encounter with a British patrol plane, but ain't no way he's gonna see me just under the surface. I approached the sunken U-boat site pretty easily, but sadly, the British are already all over it. Fortunately, they weren't moving, so it's not going to be too hard to line myself up and figure out the calculations for the torpedo. It's only a destroyer, so one torpedo was all I needed here, and I prepared to fire it. Everything was looking good. All I needed to do was sit back and watch the fight.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I just don't get it, man. I did everything right. So now these ships are moving all over the place and I can't line up another shot for the torpedo. But for some reason, the corvette comes around and just stops moving. Like, it's only been an hour since I fired that first torpedo. I feel like they shouldn't be doing this. I bet the crew is telling the captain this right now and they should keep moving, but I guess since my first torpedo was a dud, the captain is sitting there like, no, nothing ever happens. The destroyer returns to the area to look for me, and I gotta act quick because it is getting uncomfortably close to my location. Since I needed to kill this destroyer fast, I decided to let go and have faith in the AI to aim for me. The Falknor was within 1 kilometer of me, and even though I had darkness on my side, it could only do so much for me, so it was either fire now or die. They could finally see my sub, but too bad they're not going to be able to do anything about it in their lifeboats. Finally, I could go to the sunken submarine and get the Enigma machine. When going through the wreckage, I found out there were actually 2 guys still alive in there with the Enigma machine. And just thinking about that for a minute, because I'm sure this actually happened, that's gotta be so terrifying. Trapped in a sunken submarine in complete darkness for days, not knowing if you'll ever be rescued before you suffocate. See, personally, I never want to serve on a submarine again, but this Dr. Preen guy is ready to hop back into action after being patched up, and we sail back to Kiel. Now that I'm warmed up, it's time to go to a better port to participate in the Battle of the Atlantic. I considered a dash through the English Channel, but I have some PTSD about the last time I tried that, so I'm just gonna go for one last trip around the Isles. As I'm traveling, I do a quick check and see that apparently there's a small squadron of ships near me, so I figure why not get some quick tags on the way. Sadly, there aren't any merchant ships here, but I figure I could still use this opportunity to practice shooting torpedoes. It's a simple shot, I just need to focus and get the right data for the computer. I need to go to the factory where these torpedoes are made. I just want to talk to the workers there. Since this engagement is completely optional, I'm just gonna leave. The warships have no idea where I am, so I just slip away. The troubles ain't over yet. As I sail towards France, a British flying boat spots us, but I remember my training. As the plane dives at me, I dive under the surface, and its depth charges narrowly miss my sub. Once I think I've lost them, I resurface, only to find out that that plane has been following me. The British have started equipping their flying boats with radar, so that's most likely how it found me again. But this time, I don't feel like hiding. I'm gonna make sure this plane can't follow me anymore. I trust Arno with the AA gun to deal with my pursuer. Arno pulled through, and the depth charges missed us completely. But sadly, the RAF wasn't done with us yet. I pull some evasive maneuvers as the bomber dives on us and successfully dodge the plane's first bombing run. But it's not done with me yet and goes in for a second dive, so I make a sharp right turn. Arno made sure this attack was his last, and I'm really glad I turned because these depth charges would have been the end of me. As I sail away, the rest of the journey to La Rochelle is quiet, although when I dock at the port, the game kinda bugs out. I'm supposed to talk to the officer here, but he's just nowhere to be found. Fortunately, I did find a workaround for it. So if you ever encounter this bug, just dock as you would, but then you need to directly control your captain and walk off the submarine to the cars. Then you can talk to him and end the mission. From here, I have more choices of missions to do related to the Battle of the Atlantic, and I'm gonna start with a simple patrol mission. It starts off really great when I get spotted by a flying boat. So much for being out of range of their aircraft, thank you Uboat, you always give me the best intel. But fortunately, this pilot is garbage, because not only did he completely whiff with his bombs, he didn't even attempt another dive on me and just flew away. Which I guess means this has to be the edge of their plane's range. Anyway, it's time to find some trade ships to sink. I spot a small British ship sailing all by itself, so I don't bother with a torpedo and pound it with my deck gun. There's 9 survivors on the boat, and I only have 8 spots on my U-boat, so I made the moral choice of only taking 7 people. So the last guy isn't alone in the middle of the ocean. I took their fruit because I could, but don't worry, it's not like they'll starve because I technically did leave a food source behind. Since it's 1941, I gotta watch out for the American ships since despite them being neutral, there's a good chance it's carrying Lend-Lease for the Brits. I still should board it to make sure, and fortunately I have an officer who speaks English, so this should go pretty smoothly. I talked to their captain, and their documents plainly state that they're carrying raw materials for the British. The Liberty ship is like a clown car though. 50 sailors hopped out of it, so I just grabbed the officers and finished the mission. My next assignment was to drop off a spy in Ireland, and considering that it's a neutral country, I was expecting an easy time. As I approached the landing site, I saw that I was completely correct. The Irish only had a torpedo boat here, and I doubt this thing has good sonar, so getting past the Irish security isn't going to be very hard for me. The spies dropped off without a problem, and I leave the coast with no one even knowing I was there. The mission is way too easy, so that must be why there is a part 2 where I have to wait for more orders. When they arrived, it just said patrol north of Ireland for a while, so nothing too crazy. I picked up a lone merchant ship that is flying the Portuguese flag, but I don't know guys, a Portuguese ship sailing north of Ireland? This route seems a bit suspicious. The captain tries to get fresh with me, saying that they're just a neutral ship and I should leave them alone, but I'm still gonna inspect this shipping manifest, which strangely says that the neutral ship is heading to Halifax.
You got me.
Heinz Wolfram is a great engineer, so he's able to scuttle the ship without needing anything, and I'm free to continue my patrol. Later on, my crew picks up something big on the hydrophone, a major convoy traveling nearby with around a dozen ships. So I approach it, lurking just under the surface, and I almost immediately screw it up. Should have been smarter than to just bolt toward the convoy at 8 kilometers an hour, since it's like trying to sneak around in the dark while wearing a bright orange t-shirt and a bell collar. But soon, I approach a good target. I can't help but notice there's American ships traveling with this convoy, and I feel like I could safely say that that ship is definitely fair game. Also, I doubt the British warships would allow me to surface and check on them. So I'm gonna hit the Empire Franklin, and it's time to start putting the data in for the torpedo.
Buzz! We missed the truck! We're not aiming for the truck!
I'm so good at this game. And after that, I dive to 50 meters and slowly slip away, with the escorts having no idea where I could be. The patrol continues and I find another isolated merchant ship, and unsurprisingly, it turns out to be American, so I pull it aside, confirm it's going to Halifax, and give them what they deserve. This was a really eventful patrol so far, so I'm kinda glad things calmed down a bit for the rest of it and I went back to France safely. I felt pretty good about that run. The tanker I totally intended on hitting carried over 14 tons of fuel, but of course I couldn't ride this high for long. This wasn't gonna be a small air raid, so I got on the AA gun to get ready to defend myself. Leave me alone! I just got here! Are they leaving? I feel like that was just the first wave. They're getting closer. Oh no. Oh no! I'm just a little submarine, leave me alone! Oh. Oh no! Oh my god. The sub took some hits, but at least nobody died, and I shot down some British bombers. And since I'm already at port, repairs are really easy, and I can immediately accept another mission. Okay, real talk, it's the middle of 1941. Why are they still sending lone trade ships through this part of the ocean? Is the plan just to send more ships than U-boats can sink? I'm just saying, you'd have to tie me to the flagpole to make me go on a voyage like this. Imagine you're hundreds of kilometers away from any land, you're in the middle of a storm, and you just spot a U-boat pull up next to you. Back in France, I picked the task of landing another spy in Ireland, since it gave me another officer. The approach is once again pretty easy. There's still only a small patrol boat around, so I can just stay submerged and get by it easily. But I forgot I needed to watch the depth this close to shore, and I end up scraping the submarine a bit. Still, I got the agent dropped off fine, and I left the area as easily as I arrived. However, High Command has a concerning update for me. The British are aware of my mission and will be trying to intercept me. When I see the MTB come for me, I start sweating. I can't believe it. I'm gonna die to the Irish. I guess this is what I get for calling the Celtic Sea the Celtic Sea in the last video. But then, the boat just sails right over me without even slowing down, so I assume that means we're cool. There is no way he didn't see me because, I mean, look at me. It's not exactly like I'm easy to miss. A plane comes by my location, and just by looking at how it's flying, it's obvious it knows where I am. So I just dive further under the water and hope the plane eventually leaves me alone. But every time I peek above the surface, it's so obvious that it knows my exact location, so I'm just gonna have to shoot it down. The plane starts flying towards me, and I decide that I'm gonna take care of this pest personally. With the plane shot down, I can safely sail back to France, and since I finally have an extra officer, I can start doing some research to upgrade my submarine. Since I only have a radio man, he is limited in what he can research, but I figured the radar detector would be nice. I decided I wanted to do the Rescue Kriegsmarine official mission next, cause despite it being rated hard, it would be a very rewarding mission for me. The voyage to Vigo is simple since Spain is neutral, and I'm confused how stay undetected is an optional objective considering there are no ships around here for me to avoid. There is a British trade ship, I guess, but I'm not gonna touch it since I'm pretty sure the Spanish would not react well to me blowing up a ship in their port. I simply pull up to the SS Admiral Hardy, grab Fritz Kramer, and leave the port. Now I'm really confused how this mission was supposed to be hard since all I've been doing is sailing. It wasn't until I left the bay that the game decided to give me the challenge of the mission by telling me the Brits were on their way to intercept us. A quick hydrophone check showed a warship rapidly closing in on me from the west, and an hour later, a plane was flying by my location. If they both link up to find me, I feel it's gonna be really annoying to get away, so my hope is that I can shoot down the plane before the destroyer is in position to do anything. As I tell myself to get on the AA gun, the destroyer is less than 10 kilometers away, so I don't have much time to do this. I'm glad the RAF continues to send their worst pilots after me. Now it's just a destroyer I have to worry about. He's far enough away that I can dive, and he clearly has no idea where I am, so I can wait him out. As he gets farther away from me in his search, I start accelerating away from the area, until I build up enough distance to surface and safely sail back to port in France. Kramer has been successfully brought back home, and I get some nice rewards for it. High Command is loving me after that mission, and they open up new theaters for me to go to. And while the Atlantic clearly needs my skill, I really want to see what's going on in the Mediterranean, so I take the mission to sail through Gibraltar and dock in Italy. Before we go, I feel the crew deserves a vacation for their work, so I treat them to a trip to the Alps. Mainly since it boosts my research speed. So when I come back, I'll have radar detectors and snorkels on my submarine. Once those upgrades were installed, I set out for Gibraltar. I nearly screwed up the mission before I started by not submerging as I closed in on the strait, so a plane saw me and I made it worse by misclicking the game speed button. Now I have this plane bothering me, and I definitely can't keep going through the strait with it buzzing around the sub. So it's time for me to take matters into my own hands. The plane refused to make another pass, leaving us in this awkward staring contest for a while, until eventually he flew off, and fortunately no backup to replace him. As I got closer to the strait, I'm just taking it slow, underneath the surface to avoid detection. I like how the game has avoid being detected by the enemy here as an optional objective, as if I could somehow get detected and survive the swarm of warships that be coming for me. Unsurprisingly, Gibraltar is very well guarded navally, so I have to play it safe to make it past all these patrolling ships and planes. I keep a safe distance between the sub and corvette, but I'm constantly paranoid that any second he's gonna start turning right and there'll be nothing I can do. Hopefully, the only thing this corvette sees when it looks out is a nice sunset instead of my periscope and snorkel poking out beneath the surface. As I approached the other side of the strait, I was feeling confident that the worst was over, so I finally sent that radio message to get it off my screen, which the Allies immediately detected. The warships were coming over to me. They may be alert, but they don't know my exact location, so I still have a chance to escape. Just gotta use the old sit and scoot method. Sit still for a while, then scoot forward at 1 speed to create distance. It took some time, but I was able to create enough distance between myself and the Gibraltar patrols that I could safely go full steam ahead to La Spezia. And now I have joined the Battle of the Mediterranean. And if you want to see me continue this campaign, make sure to like the video. If this video gets 8,000 likes, I'll definitely continue this series, and I promise you, you won't have to wait as long for that video as you did for this one. So, make sure you're subscribed to the channel to catch that video, and other ones coming soon. Thank you to my alumni on Patreon for generously supporting my channel. Any support there helps inspire me to try new things here, and if you could pledge anything there, I appreciate it. I feel like this game is gonna get more fun as the war progresses, so I hope y'all are interested in me keeping this series going, and I hope to see you again soon.